So we're in a sugar beet field here where our planting configuration is 4 rows of pollinator and 8 rows of male sterile.
Greg Loberg is general manager of West Coast Beet Seed Company in Salem, Oregon. The business has withstood over 75 years of market volatility. However, Loberg says elements brewing in Oregon's political climate could threaten the group's bottom line.
We have activists in this state who continue to bring to the state legislature bills that would either limit or ultimately exclude the production of genetically engineered sugar beets or other crops.
A flurry of legal proposals over genetically modified foods have rained down across Oregon in recent years. A statewide ballot initiative on GMO labeling failed in 2014. At the same time, some counties followed a similar path to ban cultivation of GMO crops, only to have the state legislature block their efforts. Southern Oregon's Jackson County is the only place exempt from the state's decree because of a procedural loophole which allows them to maintain a border-to-border moratorium on the technology.
There's been numerous scientific studies that show there's no harm from these crops to either in the environment or for human health.
Katie Fast, executive director of Oregonians for Food and Shelter, advocates an all-of-the-above approach for the hundreds of agricultural products harvested statewide.
It's not a role of government.
Several groups have attempted to influence the course of local control. One effort to swing the pendulum was House Bill 2739. If adopted, the measure would have enabled growers victimized by cross-pollination of their non-GMO crops to sue biotech patent holders and seek triple financial damages. The bill was still in committee when Oregon's legislature adjourned in July. State figures indicate West Coast beet seeds made up nearly half of all U.S. domestic sugar beet seed production in 2016. Loberg says his product, engineered for glyphosate resistance, is susceptible to cross-pollination from related organic and conventional plants, and objects to the pie-in-the-sky perfection opponents demand.
They have a concern because their tolerance is literally 0. And it's 0 because they choose to supply to a market that wants it at 0, and that market will pay a premium.
Purity is of the utmost importance to lucrative export markets and operations that take land out of production to earn USDA's organic certification. Those same standards also are crucial to growers of cover crop seeds used by large Midwest farms that can be eliminated by applying Roundup.
They're looking pretty content today, yeah.
Jerome Rosa heads up the Oregon Cattlemen's Association. He says cattle is the state's top agricultural commodity at nearly $1 billion in annual revenue. And he believes GMOs are a valuable tool to help feed a growing world population. But Rosa runs a 600-head organic dairy and admits that genetically modified organisms help him command higher prices for his organic goods.
About 8% of our dairy products that are sold are organic. So it's a huge demand here. It just kind of fits with the lifestyle of who we are in Oregon.
Rosa is on board with any type of production that will help producers fulfill consumer demand. But he knows setbacks come with the territory.
So along the fence line there, that's Himalayan berries. And those are something that are sprayed out. Say, for instance, it was aerial applied a herbicide or a pesticide and it drifted onto our property 50 feet. Then that 50 feet would have to go through a 3-year process again to become certified.
Those in favor of the state preempting local control claim a patchwork of county-level GMO regulations would be detrimental to farmers. But Ivan Molesky, whose 70-acre Shamanic Bridge farm grows mostly hay and a variety of livestock, disagrees.
That always confounds me that we can talk about local control on so many issues, but when we touch on this issue and it's an issue of protecting farmers at the local level, suddenly local control is controversial.
Molesky is the policy director for Friends of Family Farmers, a nonprofit group that lobbies on behalf of Oregon's smaller operations. He's been on the front lines at the state capitol, gathering support for House Bill 2739, and was part of the previous governor's 2014 task force on genetically engineered seeds and agricultural products.
When you go down at the finer grain level, you realize that most Oregon farmers are not growing GE crops. There's not a huge desire to do that here.
The task force reviewed state farming practices and made recommendations, such as flexing existing policy.
There are certain crops that we control in Oregon. We have what are called control areas, that if a plant or a pest can be demonstrated to potentially be a menace to other agricultural commodities, the Oregon Department of Agriculture can establish a control area, and we have a couple.
Opposing interests do align on occasion, and Molesky thinks a mix of voluntary efforts and government could serve stakeholders well. But those expecting to continue fighting the same battle think the question of authority was answered before the state of Oregon ever examined the issue.
This crop has been deregulated by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. That is an adequate amount of federal control.
For Market to Market, I'm Josh Buettner.